Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Peter Llewellyn. I run the services at medcommsnetworking.com, where you'll find information, resources, activities, events, and so on for people who work in and around medical communications, medical education, medical publishing, and the associated businesses. And one of the things that, as a spin-off of that, we've developed quite an extensive information resource now at firstmedcommsjob.com, where there's lots of information for people who are looking at medcoms, wanting to learn more about it and thinking about getting a job. So what we're doing today is we're taking some of the sort of frequently asked questions from job seekers, and I'm asking some people from the industry to give their perspective on those questions. So delighted to have Jill and Amelia and Lauren from Helios. And your question, guys, is what is involved in the writing test and what is its purpose? And I believe, Amelia, you're going to kick us off.
Yeah, so the writing test, for anyone who's applying to a medcoms agency for a writing role, you probably will be asked to do a writing test. And so this is really an opportunity for the agency to see what your natural writing ability is. And they vary a lot between different agencies. So it might just be one exercise that you're asked to do, it might be 2 or 3, and they might consist of different formats as well. So you could be asked to write an abstract, you could be asked to develop some slides, you could be asked to write a newsletter or more of an essay, a longer piece of writing. It's really a mix, but like I said, the point is to test your natural writing ability. And as someone who reviews the writing tests that come in, at least for Helios, the thing that we're looking for is that, and what's trainable and what's not trainable. So if there's silly mistakes that are made, if there's typos, it doesn't look like people have put much effort into formatting, or if you're asked to do more creative elements like slide work, if they've just put bullets on a slide and they've not really thought about creativity, they're all kind of, negatives in the decision, really. What we're not looking for is a trained medical writer, because you won't be that, so we do try and pick out things that's not great, but that's very trainable. We can teach them that when they start. And Lauren actually is fairly new to Helios, and she completed a writing test for us a few months ago before she joined. So, Lauren, what did you find about the writing test? How did you enjoy it?
Yeah, so I enjoyed it. I found it really interesting, and it's a really good insight into the work that associate medical writers do as well. So it gave me that kind of experience, I guess, of what to expect in the role. So that was really good. And my test in particular involved 2 exercises. One was developing an abstract, and the other was doing a newsletter and then developing a summary slide. And I think it's a really good way of making a good impression, but also showing and demonstrating lots of different skills, not only in writing, but also in attention to detail, so that you pick out things and make sure you don't miss anything from the brief, and also meeting a deadline as well. So it's good to really set some time aside to focus on it and work on it. And also really think about the brief and what you're being asked to do, as Amelia said. So if you're being asked to kind of tweak or change the writing style to suit a particular audience, then really think about that. Also, as Amelia said, if you're looking at slides, then maybe thinking about ways where you can display or present it in a way that makes you stand out compared to others.
Okay, cool. And that's the writing test in the context of writers. But Jill, just come in from the sort of context of the non-writers, if I can make it that
absolutely.
way.
So even though the question was kind of framed around the writing test, I think from a project management kind of client services perspective, applicants for those kind of non-scientific entry-level roles shouldn't be surprised if they also get a competency test. So proving the ability to follow instructions, demonstrate a high attention to detail can be tested through tasks that include updating a finance tracker based on a specific scenario, or writing a client email, developing a project plan or a timeline that can all be conducted either during or in advance of an interview. Similar to the writing test, it allows the employer to get a sense of capability and ability to follow a brief, and proves the kind of candidate's aptitude for the role. So it's not unheard of for that sort of test to be given to a candidate looking for a kind of project account exec type role.
Okay, cool. Just in the context of the question, and the context of the question was specifically the medical writing test, as it were. So if we just focus in on that a little bit, I think, Amelia, you said something really important, that, and there's a couple of questions that have come in. I think it's really important, and something I do stress to people: you don't expect them to be a medical writer. When they take the medical writing, by definition. So people worry a lot about how to do the medical writing test because, you know, how do I pass because I haven't been trained as a medical writer? But that's not the point of it, and it's a really important point that I think they should grasp. And in terms of technical knowledge, someone's just asked about requiring specialist technical knowledge. The answer is really no, basically, because again, you're not expecting them to be a trained medical writer. So just, do you agree with this or not? So what I say to people is a couple of things. One is, in my experience, MedComms agencies don't try and catch you out particularly. So read the brief, and that will probably tell you what to do. And if you're asked to write 900 words for nurses based on a paper, don't write 2,500 words because you want to show how clever you are, because you've missed the point, sort of thing. Yeah. Your slides, again, someone asked a question. A point about that is it's getting the balance right. So you're not looking for a PowerPoint expert. You're looking for someone who can convey a message sensibly and visually sensibly in something like PowerPoint. So some bullet points might be fine. Doing something a little bit more interesting might make it stand out, but you're not expecting them to be a PowerPoint specialist, and it's about getting that.
And you don't want style over substance. You know, you don't want the content to be poor and it looks beautiful. You know, so make sure you get the content right. But you know, that will help you stand out if you have put a bit of effort into making things look attractive and you've not tried to write 5,000 words on a slide. You know, that's really important. And to the point about the specialism as well, you know, you will be asked to do, unless you're very lucky, you will be asked to do a writing test on something you've probably got no experience of. So don't be afraid of taking a bit of time and going and reading about it, because it will help you understand it and do a better job. But also don't feel pressured that you're not an expert in that therapy area or subject.
I agree with that as well, because I was new to the area for the writing test that I was doing, and really reading through the brief multiple times and keep referring back to it is something that I found really helpful.
Okay. I think that's a really important point. Read the brief. If you and would this be a fair point? I mean, I don't think people are trying to catch you out, in my experience anyway.
No,
but if you don't understand the brief, it's not a problem to come back to you and go, can you just clarify this?
Yeah, I mean, I think in my experience, they're very clear. They're not usually complicated, but you know, again, about the kind of easy mistakes of making a typo, it's also an easy rejection if a part of the brief's been missed. So even as simple as you might get asked to provide the time that it's taken for you to do the test. And if you don't do that, it just shows really poor attention to detail.
Exactly. So read the brief. On the subject of time, we've had a couple of questions coming about how long should it take. That's how long's a piece of string, yeah? I mean, let's just take it very specifically from a Helios point of view. If you give out a writing test, are you giving them any indication of how long it should take?
No, and that's something that we ask for, is people to provide how long it took them. So there's no right or wrong answer to that. Like you said, probably what we're looking for is, you can tell if people haven't been honest. You know, if it's just taken them 30 minutes to do something, you think you've not been honest there. So I'd say be honest with the time that it's taken you. And we're just looking that it's not a ridiculous amount of time. And it's also kind of getting you used to how we work. You know, everything that we do is all about time, and that's what we charge our clients for. So it's just getting you into that normal practice.
Okay. And the other point that I make, which I think is an important one, but again, disagree with me or agree with me, is that very often there's a message in there. You know, if it's like prepare a little slide presentation, 12 slides from this paper or something, there's probably a message in there. And the interesting thing is the people that can pick up the message, like the benefit to the patient, or the key result from this drug trial, or but the benefit in there. It's not about explaining the procedures and so on. What tends to be happening in the sort of work we do is that there's a message that we're trying to communicate appropriately and sensibly to the right target audience. And if they can think a bit like that, they can probably capture that message. Again, am I saying sensible stuff here or not?
Yeah, I think that's fair, and part of that, like Lauren touched on, is the audience as well. So if you're being asked to write for a GP audience, that's very different to writing for the world leading expert in an area. So you know, that's also something we look for. Has the candidate tailored their language and their style and the amount of information they're including? You know, again, it comes back to reading the brief.
Okay. So again, guys, I think that's good and insightful. One obvious point which we tend to get, or I tend to get asked, is, you know, can I give them a model writing test or something? And there's the simple answer to that, if anyone's watching this and wondering, that there isn't a model writing test that I or anybody else can give you. Agencies do their own writing tests, and they tend to keep a bit quiet about what their writing tests are, in my experience. I think because they don't want you sharing it, and so there's no so don't expect that sort of an answer. But it comes back to reading the brief, doesn't it, and doing what you're asked to do, sort of thing, and thinking about it on that basis. And then it's the old attention to detail and so on. Okay, so great, guys. I think that was useful and insightful, so thank you very much. I'm going to draw a line on this one. I'll say once again to everybody, please, firstmedcommsjob.com. There's loads of information, loads of insights, all sorts of useful guidance, hopefully. But importantly, I know Amelia, Jill, Lauren, you're very happy for people to reach out to you. LinkedIn is the easy way of doing it. I'm certainly happy to hear from people. So please, if anyone's watching this, feel free to reach out. On that note, I'm going to say thank you very much. Stay safe, and we'll just give a little wave and say bye-bye. Bye-bye.